welcome, everyone. And today we are joined for our Magnify the Middle podcast by a guest of ours, Harshita Pandey. Harshita is a member of our human resources team here at Valmark, primarily does recruiting here at Valmark. And I'm really excited about today's podcast because it's a topic that has really come up a lot recently with our managers, especially as we went through a really intense hiring season this past year. Harshita, we've hired, 20 people in the past 12 months, would you say? Not even including interns. So we started this podcast because we have a lot of middle management at our company, and it's just something that Jeff and I have been really passionate about. And what we're finding is that a lot of our middle management tend to be around the same age group, and they are hiring a lot of students right out of college. And they're coming with some questions like, there's something different about these candidates that we're hiring from me and the way that I think and the way that I kind of grew up through this organization, and I can't quite figure out how to motivate them the same way that I'm motivated. And about that time, Harshita, in HR, we had been coming across some articles about different generations, and especially with Gen Z coming to the workplace, and thought it's probably time for us to do some research and talk about how to manage the next generation. So I've asked you, Harshita, and some of the other team members to do some research, and I was hoping you could share what you found with us today.
Yes, sure. Happy to be here. And this is a very fascinating, interesting, and relevant topic. So whatever I've been able to find out, whatever I've been able to read, I'm happy to share.
Good. Why don't you start off just general? What are the different generations in our workplace today?
Yes. And when I said this is a very relevant and interesting topic, I want to say that I was reading something somewhere that caught my attention. We have so many generations in the workforce today, and all these generations, they are coming with their own ideologies, their own thought process, their own value and belief system. It's like these are all different cultures. So the generational differences it's kind of like cross-cultural differences. And how do we then bring them all together in one place and have them bridge their differences, work together, collaborate together without causing any friction? So this is a very interesting and fascinating topic. And let's discuss now those different generations that are existing today. We'll start with the silent generation, which is 1929 to 1945. They were growing up during World War II, the Great Depression. That impacted that generation. So you would see them to be more frugal, more resourceful, and definitely more grateful for what they have. The next would be the baby boomers. That's 1946 to 1964. And I also want to make this clear that a lot of different researchers and different books and authors define these year ranges differently. So there might be like a few years of give and take. So the ranges can be a little flexible, fluid, but approximately these are the years.
Okay.
So the baby boomers, they were growing up after the World War II. They were seeing expansion and not the depression. They were given opportunities. There was growth happening. They were promised the American dream as kids. So that made them grow into very ambitious people, very work-driven. Some would also define them as being workaholics because the central focus of their life was work, because they wanted to achieve more, because of the promises of getting more were made to them. Then comes the Generation X.
Best generation.
Let me guess, Jeff.
Yes. So 1965 to 1982, the most insightful thing that I read about this generation was during this time, as more and more women started entering the workforce, this was the first generation of daycare and latchkey kids. Mm-hmm. And that made these kids, or this generation, to grow up to be more self-reliant, self-sufficient. I'm valuable. I can depend on myself, do everything on my own, and I have a very realistic perception of the world. And then the Millennials, Generation Y, 1983 to 2000 roughly. And they were more sheltered as kids than any of the previous generations from them. And after the daycare and latchkey, now what's next? So for them, then came the schedules, routines, games, activities, extracurriculars. They had their calendars full. And that schedule then has groomed them to be more confident, more optimistic. And this is also the generation that was growing up when the whole technology thing was starting to come about. So they are tech savvy, a tech savvy generation. And now let's come to Gen Z, which is the next generation, the latest entrant into the workforce, 2001 to 2015 roughly. This generation is also tech savvy, but the difference you will see is during this generation, the tech boom was happening exponential speeds. So this generation is one step ahead of being, they're not just tech savvy, they're playing technology or using technology to their advantage. They're building on top of it. They're making the technology do the work for them. So that's one way Gen Z is defined. The most insightful thing that I read about Gen Z is, which we should all be mindful about, growing up, this generation has been impacted by a lot of negativity in their environment. They were impacted by recessions, mass shootings, political polarizations. The pandemic has affected them just at the time of, them starting their career or making life choices. Just at that point in their lives, they were impacted by all these things. So this generation has been dealing with a lot of mental health issues, mental issues, and we need to be cognizant of that fact. And then the next generation is Gen Alpha, which is 2016 to 2025, the kids right now.
And so, Harshita, you're of the millennial generation, is that correct?
Yes.
And Jeff and I are the Gen Xers of the group. So while all of us also went through the pandemic and recession and all of the different social, economic issues that have really, come to a head over the past few years, I think what I'm hearing you say is the difference is they're going through their formative years. They're going through their early adulthood. They're going through that stage of gaining their independence, trying to figure out how to do life on their own, be adults while all this is happening at the same time, versus us, who we've been in our careers now for a while and we're pretty stable and steady. And it's just what a difference that impact has made at their stage of their life.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So as I mentioned, a lot of our managers are in the millennial group and a lot of our new hires are in the Gen Z. So if we could dig a little bit deeper into those two generations and maybe just tell us a little more about what are the differences between those two generations?
Yes, great question. And why this question is relevant, like you said, it's not just at our organization, but across in the workforce, because millennials comprise of the largest generation in the workforce as of now, about 40%, and Gen Z is the new entrant. So you would see a lot of millennials managing Gen Z employees directly because of this ratio. And these two differences, like I pointed out, are very different from each other, although they're just like the subsequent generations, but the millennials were the confident, optimistic generation. And now Gen Z is the generation who's dealt with a lot of anxiety, a lot of external factors impacting them negatively, which has been out of their control. So two different mindsets, very different mindsets, but how can a millennial manager manage a Gen Z employee better? They have to be more empathetic, more understanding that Gen Z is coming up with these mindset, these values, and these issues. Most of the Gen Zs have also grown up in urban, suburban settings compared to their previous generations. less and less of, people growing up in rural settings now. So how they view the world is, again, also different. Another thing about Gen Z is that they have been the most racially diverse generation in the US ever, with about 48% of them identifying themselves as being non-white. That's a huge number. And so inclusivity, diversity, these are very important topics to them. They hold these very close. They're like the top value for them that they consider. And we have to be cognizant of that fact as an organization if we want to attract this latest generation into our workforce. Then we need to know that this is what makes them tick. This is important.
So as a recruiter, this is something that's been top of your mind to really think about as you're recruiting this next generation of students and candidates.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And another emphasis, which I've talked about, but we can't talk enough about it because this is important to this generation, is the mental health issue. So this is something that this generation has grown up with, has been dealing with, and we have to be cognizant of this difference between a millennial or a Gen X manager managing a Gen Z who's coming with, probably millennials and Gen Xers being those confident and positive and realistic kind of people, do not realize that Gen Z is, on the other hand dealing with such issues. So this is important.
And I think Gen Z is probably much more open about it.
Yeah.
Whereas
more comfortable for sure.
Past generations might not have talked about it at all. And it might be a little off-putting to have somebody that's so transparent about what their mental health issues are. And it's like,
I think that even goes to the culture difference that Harshita pointed out. It is a different culture to, just be more empathetic and sensitive to those.
And that is also something that this generation has been doing. They are very vocal. They will not, step down, or they'll not be afraid of voicing their opinions, sharing their ideas and beliefs. And I think this is largely impacted by the presence of social media and technology and the world coming together and shrinking, and those things have impacted and made them more comfortable with sharing everything that they can.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you for that. And, as we're working through some of these challenges of managing the Gen Z generation that's coming through here, I'm finding a lot of misconceptions. So I looked into this a little bit. There are, some general misconceptions, and I just want to ask what you found in your research. One of the misconceptions is that they don't care about higher education as much.
Right. Misconception, but I will not agree or disagree 100% with this statement, because yes, they might not be pursuing higher education in the way that we perceive higher education as. So they might not be doing your typical 4-year college degrees, but they are still going for some kind of certification, online training, short-term courses to supplement what they want to do long-term in their career. And again, so we define this generation as the hacker generation. They want to hack everything. They are hacking education as well.
Interesting. Can you give us an example? Like if somebody wanted to be maybe like a digital designer or something, how would they use their hacker mindset to work around?
Yes. And another thing that comes to mind is that this generation is debt averse. They've seen their parents carry that baggage of college education debt. Now this generation is being smart. They know that these college, or like you said, they want to be a content creator or digital specialist, something, and they realize that the 4-year degree will not give them or equip them with the knowledge and the skills that they need to be successful in this position. They will not go for a typical 4-year degree, but they might take short-term credential classes or online certifications, learn on the job kind of a thing.
So they'll just get right to it. learn your
Yes.
specific education.
Yes.
Yeah, and get started today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make money and get rid of the debt. No debt.
How about job hopping? I've heard a lot that they like to switch jobs quite frequently.
Right. Yes. I will agree and disagree again. Agree because job hopping is true, but it's true not for the generation, but true for the stage in their career that they are at, which would be, and there is data out there on it, there has been research done that every generation has gone through it whenever they were in their starting stage of their careers in that 18 to 24, 25 years of age range. They changed more jobs than they would have later in their careers. So this generation right now, they are still figuring out, exploring opportunities, seeing what is out there and what is it that they want to do long term.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so kind of true, but more to be determined.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the myth that they just want to work from the comfort of their own homes?
That is definitely a myth. They are definitely not averse to coming into an office setting. They want to come in, they want to be mentored and coached, which is something that they're looking for at that stage in their lives. They want to build relationships. They want to learn from their peers and seniors and network and all those opportunities that they would get in an in-office setting. But they want to have flexibility. They want to be in control, in charge. They want autonomy in that area as well. So they don't want to be told that you come into the office 5 days or these 4 days. You come into the office, you can come into the office 3 days or 2 days, and you can choose which of those days, that kind of a flexibility.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that they don't want to come in the office. It's don't tell me it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But I do want to come in because I think we found this to be true, which was surprising, was actually our younger people in that generation that actually wanted to come into the office because this is where their friends were. This is where their social interaction was. Mm-hmm. This is where they were getting fed all of those other things. And if they lived in an apartment by themselves at home, it was actually a really bad experience for them.
That is true. That was our experience. Yeah. It was a little surprising. Okay, what about the paycheck? Is it just all about the money?
Again, true and not true, but true because, competitive compensation is important to all generations, all employees, everybody. You cannot totally disregard that people will work for free. They want to be paid fairly. So that competitive compensation is important, but this generation is smart. They're not only looking at the compensation or the salary that they're getting, they're also considering other factors, their beliefs and values that we talked about, whether a company aligns with their beliefs and their values or not, whether the company or the opportunity is a good fit for them long term from what they're looking to do in the near future. So those things are as well equally important as the paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we found that too, just with recruiting over the past, I'll say even 10 years, is a lot of the candidates now are asking a lot more questions about benefits and about 401k. And I would say 5 to 10 years ago, it was just, what is that starting base salary? Where now they're a little bit more conscious of all the other things as well.
True.
Yeah. Okay. What about instant gratification? How strong is that?
Yeah, we can link this to the previous point as well, that what you just said, people or this generation also is focusing on 401k plans and long-term benefits, health benefits. So it's not instant gratification for them. They are considering their retirement plans too. They are debt averse. So the paycheck is important, but they are also thinking long-term. They are also thinking long-term of their career fit. So this one is definitely a myth.
Okay. And then we've talked on this podcast before about the Great Resignation. And I have heard some, just a myth out there that the Great Resignation is led by Gen Z. Is that true?
A myth. No denying that there was a phase of the Great Resignation. People were looking for more opportunities, but there were more opportunities for people to even look out and explore the other opportunities. True for people across generations. But one thing I want to point out is that, again, like I said, Gen Z is at that stage in their career that they are likely to switch more compared to the other generations. So probably that data will tell you that they are changing more jobs than the other generations, but it's not the generation thing. It's the point where they are right now. And also the other thing that we talked about, that if they are in an opportunity which does not align well with their values and their beliefs and what they're looking for, we talked about it, that they will not hesitate and they will speak up their mind. So they will not think twice before looking for another opportunity which aligns more with, with their values, be it diversity, inclusion, be it mental health awareness. Companies that are more vocal about these topics and are taking actionable steps towards these, Gen Z will definitely lean more towards those opportunities.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to know. All right. So as Jeff and I are coaching some of our middle managers, Harshita, what are some of the contributions that Gen Z is bringing to the workforce that maybe us Xers or other millennials should be aware of and should make sure that we're tapping into?
Right. Yes, great question. And we talked about Gen Z being super tech savvy. They have that entrepreneurial spirit, innovative ideas. They are coming with the hacking mindset. So like I talked before, that they are tech savvy, they are comfortable with technology, but they are building on top of that technology. They are making that technology work for them. So they want to hack things. They want to do it yourself. They have that DIY mentality. They are very social media savvy. So these are all things that can be, tapped into well. They're just entering our workforce, so they're bringing a fresh perspective, new ideas. Give them a safe space to share these ideas that they have, share their creativity, their innovative ideas, their thought process, and listen to them. Make them feel comfortable enough that they can share these within the team. And like I said, putting to use, they are so social media savvy. Tap into it for your marketing team, your marketing initiatives. They are hackers, so they are creative problem solvers. Give them a problem and let them solve it creatively.
Yeah, that's interesting. And when we're managing someone, especially when they're such a different culture than us, what are some ways we can engage with them and connect with them, speaking again specifically to Gen Z?
Okay. Yeah. So like I said, they value autonomy, freedom. They don't want to be micromanaged. They don't want to be told what to do. They are those hackers, creative problem solvers. Give them a problem, give them the resources, and let them solve it their way. They do want to be mentored and coached along the way. So be accessible to them so that they can come up to you for any questions that they have or any roadblocks that they face. But do not go in and check in on them every few minutes or every few hours. They want to have some space, but they want to be told that our doors are always open for you to come in and ask questions, or if you need our help or support in any way. That is one. The other big thing is this generation is grown up with instant likes and comments on their photos and videos. So
very true.
they want constant feedback. No feedback, no good. So they are looking for constant feedback, be it good, be it bad, be it positive, negative, whatever. But they want to be told.
They don't want to be told how, but once they do something, then they want your feedback.
Yes.
So don't tell me how to do it up front. Let me do it my own way. If I make a disaster, that's okay. Tell me I made a disaster. I'll try again, but then give me feedback. But don't helicopter parent me as I'm doing it.
Exactly. Yes. That's very well described. That's how it is. And yeah, if I make a mistake, come and tell me I made a mistake, but don't handhold me all the way along. That DIY, hacker, entrepreneurial, innovative kind of mentality, it all comes together in this.
You know, I don't know if this is quite on point, but when I think about all the likes and comments, I'm just referencing Gen Z through my own kids. And I feel like their phones are just these giant feedback machines or giant alert machines, giant notification machines. I feel like sometimes, and maybe I'm wrong on this, I think Gen Z can have a little bit of trouble prioritizing and scheduling because they're so inundated with all of these notices, likes, comments, different. And I feel like sometimes they can struggle with focus and prioritization because they are getting so many different channels coming at them. So even if they're at work, they are on so many different like platforms, social media. Yep. It can be hard to just shut some of that off and then have deep thinking or focus. I don't know if you guys have observed that as well.
Yeah, Jeff, actually, to answer your question, we just went through this thing at my kids' school for parents on just awareness of how often our kids are getting notified from their phones and how often they are interrupted from whatever their train of thought is. And it's actually retraining their brains to just have constant just interruptions and constant notifications going on. And they're just unable to really focus anymore. And so the training was really like awareness. I think the average among the students, they had them look it up, is over 1,000 notifications a week.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I also think as a manager too, I think they're used to the machine or the technology or the thing telling me when I need to take action. So this, do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes Gen X, I think we're a little bit used to just kind of creating our own schedule or kind of prioritizing ourselves. Whereas I think Gen Z is a little bit more like the technology is going to tell me when I'm up. So I think in terms of like designing workflows and systems, especially if you're like doing a workflow or handing off work, that generation is used to a workflow that is, tell me when I'm ready to act. I'm going to kind of do my thing, but then alert me when it's ready. I'm not going to proactively go out and look for it. Yeah. You need to alert me when I'm ready you need me to do work.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Totally. That is the hacker mindset of putting the technology to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And them not working for the technology.
Right.
Wow. So. Interesting. Such a different point of view. So I think, going back to what you said about how to engage with them is give them enough rope to run with it and make sure you're not under leading them because we are still their leaders at the end of the day. So it's not a set it and forget it and they'll figure it out. It's being available for them to come back and check in. Are things on the right track? Give them feedback.
Yes, definitely. Yes. And also, I want to say that, and this is true for all generations, all managers managing all generations. Whenever you're leading, lead with empathy and understanding. Don't think control, but think connection.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. In fact,
yes. Control. Don't think control, think connection, because I think older generations, I know my parents were all about control.
Right.
They were like, I'm the boss, you do this.
Yeah.
Or even like, I have to have control, I have to know all of it. And I think, especially now, there is so much to know that it's too hard for the manager to know everything, control everything. They have to delegate some of the, as Nate told us, not the decision, but the authority even to make some of that decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, you can kind of see that trickle down through the generations as it's kind of shifting from that micromanaging control mentality into, more of like a mutual trust and respect, and each of us can give each other something. Yeah. I like that. I think that's a great place to end. Don't think control, think connection. Thank you, Harshita.
Thanks, Harshita.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.